Hi there, welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to review the Life of Lance Reddick. We're also going to see the perspective of Stoicism on death. We're going to see how the Stoics tried to get over their natural fear of death, and also we shall learn how we could despise death just like they did. So who is Lance Reddick? Lance Reddick was an amazing actor. He was in the movie John Wick 4 and another movie called The Wire. He was also a very talented musician, and unfortunately he died last week at 60. His wife is very bereaved and has asked for donations to be made to momcares.org. This is a nonprofit that helps mothers in his hometown. So if you have any donations, you can send them there. Well, it's really sad to say, but we lost a really good human, and I hope that those who are close to him can get over his death as time goes by. Now, before I go on into the Stoicism part, you must think of this Stoicism part as this. Think of a doctor. A doctor goes to school for over 20 years to learn how to become a doctor. An engineer goes to school for over 20 years to learn how to become an engineer. And so we can think about life in the same aspect. Stoicism teaches us ways of looking at life. In essence, we're like in a school, and some students are going to be more excellent than others. But our goal is to get better every time. And of course, the better you are, the better your life is going to be. Okay, onto the natural fear of death. Now, of course, the Stoics were humans. It's not there were some supernatural humans that didn't have any fears. They knew that we have a natural fear of death, right? And death is natural. But just like a person who has not gone to medical school cannot be a good doctor, Stoicism is trying to put us into a school of life where they teach us a good perspective on life and change our wrong opinions about death. Okay, here is one quote that I really like. Fortune does not possess the extensive reach that we often attribute to her. She can only grasp those who cling to her. So now, think of your mind as a black box, and it kind of has a shield. That's how the brain is, right? So it has to interpret everything that is given to it, and then it makes an opinion about it, right? So if that interpretation is wrong, then it's going to look at that thing as harmful. But if that interpretation is right, then of course it's going to think of that thing as a good thing. So what we're trying to do here is trying to change that interpretation so that it can see the outside things in the world in a correct perspective. Because the fact is that outside things do not touch our soul. The soul just stands on its own, and it is our opinions about those outside things that make us say that this is either good or bad. Now, of course, this is easier said than done. It doesn't mean that I don't suffer. I do have wrong opinions, but I have seen that over time, when I make these opinions good, then I am not harmed by these things which were pissing me off before. Okay, now if you're watching this, you might be thinking to yourself, you know what, this guy is crazy. You know what, it's very difficult to bring the mind to a point where it can scorn life and just look at it as something trivial. And of course, you're not the first person to have that thought. People 2,000 years ago had that thought, and these quotes I'm reading are from 2,000 years ago. But Seneca comes back and says, don't you see the crazy reasons that make men hate their life? He talks about people that hang themselves because they have been cheated on. Now, of course, being cheated on is not fun, but we know that there are people who have been cheated on and have gone on to live very great lives and they found happiness again. And then there are others who have been cheated on and their life has been just miserable from there. So we can see that for the same event, some people are thriving, others are not thriving. Of course, I'm not sitting here trying to pray for bad things to happen to me so that I can test out my logic. But what we're trying to do here is that we have to train our minds and give it the right opinion so that when those dispreferred things happen, then we can have a correct perspective and get ourselves out of that rut. The Stoics don't like using the words good or bad. They use the words preferred and dispreferred. They say that good or bad depends on your opinion about the event. Okay, you're saying, okay, we get it. So how can we get these correct opinions, right? So we must know that we must study and get the correct knowledge first. And after we have the correct knowledge, we must practice it, for logic alone cannot help. I cannot just sit here and tell you, do not fear death, or do not fear approaching people. That doesn't work. If you want to get over your fear of shyness, you have to go and talk to people so that you can get over that fear. Okay, here's another cool quote for you. For it is not poverty that we praise, it is the man whom poverty cannot humble or bend that we praise. It is not pain that we praise, it is the man whom pain has not coerced that we praise. So here we can see that these people have suffered clearly. Of course, the poverty and the pain are not preferred things, but those people who have endured them with great characters are people that we look up to. So we are trying to be like those people. Okay, back to death. So you can see that death is something indifferent. It is not something we can ignore because we have a natural fear of death. And the soul must be hardened by long practice so that it may learn to endure the sight and the approach of death. Stoics say that something is indifferent. By indifferent, they do not mean that you should not feel any kind of pain or sadness. By indifferent, they mean that it cannot change your character as a person. If a flood comes and falls onto your house and takes away your house, that cannot change your character. It cannot make you see color blue as yellow. That's what they're trying to say. Of course, a flood coming and taking away your house is not something fun, or something where you're not going to feel anything. But what we're trying to say is that since your character has not changed, then you're going to have the mental fortitude to undergo the pain and maybe try to see how you can reset your life. Whereas someone who doesn't have a strong character may be crushed by this event and might never recover in his attitude for life. Part 2 on despising death. Okay, here's another quote for you. We do not suddenly fall on death, but advance towards it by slight degrees. We die every day. For every day, a little of our life is taken from us. Even when we are growing, our life is on the wane. So just like Lance Reddick died, we should know that he did not just die at 60. Ever since he was born, he was going towards death. Okay, they go on and say that it is not the last drop that empties the water jug, but all that has previously flowed out. Similarly, the final hour we cease to exist does not itself bring death. It merely itself completes the death process. And I know it sounds scary, but just like Lance Reddick, everybody watching this video has their clock that is running. We are all running towards death. But instead of being scared, what can we do about this situation? Well, the first thing we should try not to do is to run towards death because of our fear of life. Stoics say that it is absurd to run towards death because you're tired of life, when it is your manner of life that has made you run towards death. And in another passage, they say, what is so absurd as to seek death when it is through fear of death that you have robbed your life of peace? So here we go back to that opinion that I was telling you about. If we have the correct opinion, then we can handle life the correct way. And then we're not going to be tired of life. Now, of course, it's a very simplistic way of looking at it, but we have to simplify it for now. Of course, there's so many other issues like the economic conditions. Some people come from war-torn areas and it becomes hard for them to look at their life in a happy manner, just like people maybe who live in the USA and are rich and have money for everything. Of course, everybody's life is different, but for the sake of this video, we are trying to say that let us change our opinions and not at least disturb ourselves, right? The externals are beyond the scope of this video. But as for now, we are focusing on how our life is getting less every day that goes by. So let us say that our faults die before we die. Because if we have less faults and a better opinion, we're going to have a longer time of enjoying an improved mind. One that is at peace with itself. And also, you will also become happy during the time when you're improving your mind and setting it at peace with itself. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're interested in more content like this, and also check out the other videos on my channel. Have a good day. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. And also check out my other videos. Have a good day.